Today, I want to share with you how this voice memo became this. Tripping on Yesterday is a song I wrote and made a music video for about a month ago, and if you haven't seen that video, go check that out so you can hear the song in its entirety. But today I want to kind of break down some of the process of how I kind of came about recording this song. Initially, it started out as a voice memo like you heard in the beginning. I was outside pushing my kids on the swing and the melody just kind of dropped into my head. And before I went down to, scratch away at like piano parts or guitar parts or whatever, I just sort of let the idea simmer for a little while. I pulled my phone out and recorded a voice memo to make sure I didn't forget it, but I didn't want to jump onto an instrument because I wanted to let the idea evolve a little bit more in my head. A lot of times if I jump onto an instrument too soon, that left brain task of creating chords and trying to figure out the technical elements of like, okay, what sounds am I using? What are the chords I'm going to use? That can kind of get me out of a very right-brained state of mind as far as melodies and things like that come. So I wanted to give myself just some time to reflect on the idea, even kind of come up with more parts in my head, and I would just record those on voice memos as I was going along. But then once I felt comfortable, it was time to sit down at the synthesizer and figure out what the chords were going to be. I would definitely not call myself a keyboard player at all, but I love playing synths and piano, and it's very fun. But it took me quite a while to figure out the chords for this song. I actually had to transpose my original voice memo down because it was much too high for me to sing. And yeah, it took me about, probably like an hour or so to figure out the chords just because I'm not, like I said, a keyboard player. But once I figured it out, I looped a part over and over again so that I was able to sit down and kind of work out a bass riff. Once I finished bass, I wanted to jump on to the drums to get a loop down so I could play my other instruments to it. So I jumped on my kit and I laid down just a pretty basic loop that I felt would represent the overall vibe of the song. Later on, I actually changed the snare sound, so you'll actually hear that later. But I got something that was close enough and gave me the groove and the vibe that I needed to go on and record the rest of my parts. A lot of times when I record, I like to do like vocal sketches. So I'll have an idea of what I'm wanting to do, and so I'll sing a melody over top of what I recorded, and a lot of times I'll be just singing like babble nonsense words, and then I'll figure out what I want to say later. In this case, I had a chorus melody from the voice memo, so I knew I was going to end up at that melody, but I needed to kind of figure out what I was going to do before then. So I just played around, sort of saying nonsense words over top of it.
Be alone. I know that it's a shame that you had to go. I know that it is I go with my own.
I usually don't share my raw vocal scratch tracks with people because they're ridiculous sounding and it's kind of embarrassing. But going through that process laid down a really solid foundation that would later evolve into the chorus of the song. At this point, I felt like I needed some kind of intro piece, something to add to the arrangement that would be a fun melodic part that was catchy. So I created this intro that went before the verse and after the chorus that I could use, and I felt like it turned out really well. I used sort of a synthesizer line to kind of lead the melody, and I really liked it. I gave it a really cool vibe. I hit a point where the drums just weren't cutting it for me anymore. I didn't like the snare sound, so I decided I would retrack drums and give myself something a little bit more inspiring. I went for a tighter kind of snare sound that I felt kind of captured what I was going for aesthetically for this song, and I felt like it really kind of elevated the vibe and gave me a lot more to work off of. I wanted to add some sort of psychedelic kind of guitar tones, so I pulled out the Ricky and I decided to use the Deadbeat modulation station as my modulation sound. I think I did like a filter effect just to kind of get some of that old school psychedelic sort of sounds, and I feel like it really complemented everything else and kind of had some retro throwback moments with the guitar. Going into recording all this, I usually don't have a fully fleshed out plan. I've actually really enjoyed recording and writing at the same time. So as I'm recording these parts that you've heard, I don't even really know what's going to happen next until I'm done with a part. I like that feeling of I'm sort of like laying down these puzzle pieces and creating pieces that will fit in later. I feel like that's been really inspiring for me. Sometimes I've written songs where I've written out all the lyrics and I have chords and everything before I record, but I've recently really been enjoying the sort of like gradual evolution of hearing parts happening and then reacting to those parts as they are recorded. There are so many different ways to write a song. You can write by yourself in a basement like I do. You can write with a group of people. You can write the entire arrangement before you ever get into the studio, or you can write and record at the same time. There's so many different ways to do it. You have to figure out what works for you. There's not a clear-cut formula for how to do it. Everybody is inspired in different ways, and it's very, very subjective. I would love to know different ways that you like to write and record. Do you like to read comic books before you write lyrics? What do you like to do? In the comments, let me know, and I would really like to talk to you about different ways you like to record. Thanks for watching this video. Hit the like button if you liked it, subscribe, and click the bell icon to get notified for future episodes, and I'll see you later.